Hello, and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers. Hello, empaths. We hope your week is off to a great start. Denise and I are going to be sharing our Community Connection show with you this month, where we get to hear from you guys and answer some questions and share your wonderful stories. We always appreciate your feedback and hearing from you. So just remember, if you want to reach out, you can email us enlightenedempaths@gmail.com, or you can message us on our Facebook page. Just search Enlightened Empaths. Denise, we have not really a spooky one to start us off, but it definitely connects to our spooky shows. Do you want to share it?
Yes, and we got quite a bit of feedback from people. Some people love them, and some people said, not quite a fan. So this first one says, I just listened to your Ouija board episode, and I have a story to share. I lost my mom in 2021. 2 years later, I was having my first child. I was set on a name, which if you say her first and last name together, it sounds like Edelweiss. Then one night I was feeling guilty for not naming my daughter after my mom. I only said these thoughts to myself. The next day at work, one of my coworkers offered me a piece of chocolate that our VP had brought back from Switzerland. The one I picked up said Edelweiss on it and had the picture of the flower. I was stunned. What does the Edelweiss flower come up in everyday life? This felt like a sign from my mom or the universe that her name was meant to be, and it was okay to not name her after my mom. Fast forward to this year, and I'm expecting my second child. I'm due 4 days before my mom's birthday. I'm having a boy, and my husband and I are contemplating naming this baby after my mom because her name is gender neutral, and he's due around her birthday. Well, I was listening to your Ouija board episode, and my mom loves spooky things and scary movies, so I thought to myself, Mom, you'd love this episode. As I'm listening, I'm thinking about the baby's name at the same time. I read the story about the doll whose name was my mom's name, Callie. I started laughing. It was like, no way. Really, Mom? Even though it was very creepy, I'm going to take it as a joke for my mom that she was there listening to me, and just maybe this baby is meant to be named after her after all. Would love to hear your thoughts. I think that's such a beautiful visit from her mom, and it sounds like her mom has a good sense of humor to come in through the Ouija board.
Yeah, and it fits definitely her personality. If she said her first thought was, "Oh, Mom would have loved this," that's often a sign that they're with you. I always think of what John Holland says when he often repeats that phrase: "Your loved ones are only a thought away." And so when we're thinking about them, something I wonder all the time: if my mom or dad pops into my head, I wonder, am I thinking of them or were they thinking of me?
Right.
Do you ever feel that way?
Yes, very much. Or I always try to open my heart and make that love connection with people my own people in spirit that come forward. And it's a very emotional connection versus when we're working as mediums and we can have a little bit more objectivity.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do wonder, I used to be during some darker days, like, are they warning me of something bad getting ready to happen? Then I realized that it's just to let us know that they're there and they still love us and they're sending support and guidance.
Yeah, which is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this next one is from a listener who had a gentle ghost or maybe a Christmas elf visit their family. We'll let you decide. She writes, a couple of years ago on Christmas Day, after my children and grandchildren left, we decided to just sit down and relax. I had my dog on my lap, and I noticed that my cat Betty was playing with something under the couch, but I figured she was stalking my other cat. All of a sudden, a Matchbox toy car came out from underneath the couch at full speed and hit a table. My husband was sitting across from me and said, "What was that?" He first looked for my other cat, who was in another room, then looked under the couch. Nothing there. We looked at our security camera and saw that Betty was on the opposite side of the couch where the car had come through. It had to have been a child spirit that was enjoying all the children we had at our house for Christmas.
Oh,
I know, isn't that wild? I like that this listener is very nonchalant about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm picturing, remember that scene from Sixth Sense where the girl was like hiding under the bed when the little psychic went upstairs to uncover
Yes.
the
Yeah.
mom had Munchausen syndrome, and she pushed the box out from under the bed, and she had like the dark eyeliner, and that's what I'm picturing. But I'd rather think it's like, the elf on the shelf, or I guess a lovely Christmas spirit ghost who came to play with them.
Yes. And again, the animals, they're aware of it more so than we are. So it's always a good idea to watch your pets if you are sensing something or feeling something, because they'll often let us know that
Well, remember
somebody's
that
around.
one of those stories we read in our spooky episodes, and the cat was walking, like weaving around as though he were weaving
Yes.
around unseen people in the room. Ooh. My cat will do that once in a blue moon. I'll just be like sitting in my bed trying to fall asleep or reading a book, and she'll jump up onto my bed, and I'm like, "Hey, Sabrina, how are you?" And she'll just turn around and stare fixedly at something in the corner of the room, and there's nothing there. And I'm like,
Hmm.
"All right, Bean, time to go to bed. Not spooky mom." Do your pets do that?
All the time.
Oh,
Or
it's
they'll bark at things and I'll look and there's no one there, or it it's good. It's good because it helps us keep aware, I guess. But
that's true.
uh, so our next one is, let's start by saying the two of you have made such an impact in my life as I struggle to find out who I really am in this life. I think that there's reciprocity with that. Everything that we get from our readers has helped us to grow and evolve as well. So we appreciate. Do you feel that too?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. We learn as much as we try to share.
right. The wisdom you share has helped me understand so much. And again, reciprocity there. Oh, I've had a few readings with Denise over the last 3.5 years. I've also had a couple readings from others. Everyone has told me that my ancestors have said I'm the one they're waiting for. They've been waiting for. I do feel like I've broken a lot of patterns from my family line. My question is this: my younger son passed away a few years ago, and I only have one other child. My living son is 34, and at this point, he seems he's not interested in having children. If that's the case, then who am I breaking ancestral patterns for? Is it just for myself and him? Or are they just happy someone is finally doing it, even if in the end, it's the end of the line? Or does it help other timelines besides this one? Thank you for your insight. It is so very helpful. Well, I'm glad that all been there for each other. And this whole ancestral stuff fascinates me to no end. And recently I was digging around and looking for some stuff, and I fell down the rabbit hole looking at, are any of our past lives correlating to another incarnation that we had? Not that the people in our life were there, but were we those people? So that's a whole big, big rabbit hole to go into. But when we break those cycles, I really believe in my heart that we're freeing the people that are going to reincarnate in our family line to come in without that baggage, without having to learn those lessons. I'd love to believe that to be true. I have no science to support it, but I do think if it is the end of a line, I was thinking about this with, I don't have daughters, so the matriarchal line won't go through me, but it will go through my sister who has a daughter. So this is a fascinating topic to me.
Yeah, it is to me too. But I also feel like there is no time.
Right.
Time is relative, it's man made, it's invented, it's created. And so if we are breaking generational patterns, I do think it echoes back to those who have gone before us.
Very much so. And when they say they've been waiting for us to break those patterns, how many times have we come through, given it a good shot? How many times have we showed up? Because, I've done multiple past life regressions on my own, and there's a theme. There's a theme with not quite stepping into power. There's a theme with, being in situations where various forms of enabling or codependence have been pretty significant. So is that part of it as well? Is that on a soul level, when we break those patterns, we're able to evolve to a new level if we reincarnate or if we stay on the other side?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's just so much to think about with this. But She also says, is it just me that I'm breaking these ancestral patterns for and my son? And if the answer to that is yes, well, gosh, isn't that more than enough?
Right.
We put so much pressure on ourselves.
We do.
If you're working through this for yourself, that's a beautiful thing. And it's going to echo to your son. It's going to echo back to people who've gone before you. But really, it's okay if it just echoes into your own beautiful heart.
Right. And that has been a consistent message and pattern that I've been seeing, is that someone will be the one in the family that came in to do the heavy lifting and the heavy work. I wonder if, as a soul group, that was predestined to say, okay, in this lifetime, now we can all start a new path. We can all start anew. So you might be the last one in the line because it's the end of a end of a series, end of a. I don't quite have the words for that, but maybe it's so that that whole group can come in with a new lesson, a new trajectory.
I like that viewpoint.
I do too.
And finally, I just want to add, your son is 34 and he's a guy. He could have kids up until forever.
Yeah.
So we don't know. Or he could be a stepdad, we just never know.
True.
Denise and I just want to pop in and tell you guys about some exciting events and classes we have coming up in the new year. On January 8th, I'm teaching my manifesting class to help kickstart your New Year goals. With this live class that's taught in person over Zoom, you get my Manifesting Goals ebook. You get a meditation to help you align your subconscious with your goals. You get a chance to ask me questions about manifesting blocks and learn how to really set your 2025 in the best possible energy. Also, the 4 Wednesdays in February, I'm teaching my Be Your Own Psychic class, where you really learn how to embrace, awaken, and strengthen your intuition. You'll get some partner work, you'll get some individual exercises, and some fantastic feedback. And also in February, on the 2 Saturdays in February, we're going to be doing our class on mediumship with Denise and myself. That's Saturday, February 8th and February 22nd. I'm so excited to teach this again with you.
Oh, it's fun. We always have a good time when we do this one, and it's a beautiful stepping off point. If you think, am I a medium? Am I not a medium? It's a really nice place to explore that.
Yeah, I think so too. You learn really how to embrace your mediumship in a very safe and supportive environment. And because we're doing it on Saturdays, there's a little bit of extra time where we're hoping to do some in-class partner exercises. But like our other classes, you'll have some out-of-class partner exercises as well. In January, on the 25th, if anyone's in the Northeast, I'm going to be in Virginia. I'm going to be presenting Saturday night at Edgar Casey ARE on manifesting.
The past 3 years, I've offered a really intensive mentoring program for a small group of people. I've been studying and doing this work for a while now, and I've taken so many classes and trainings that it's my way to share what I've learned. But even more importantly, it's about helping each person find how they best connect with spirit. In the past, it's been a 6-month program, and each month, every person gets a one-on-one coaching session with me for their own personal growth and development. There are 2 monthly group meetings, and the first part of the meeting is direct instruction, where I share practices or techniques to help you develop your own connection more fully. The second half is more of a shared, it's practice, it's building community. We also, if there's an interest, we've explored business components. There's a monthly class that we have as a group. Everything's recorded and uploaded, so if you're not able to be there in person. I think my favorite, though, is that this is a real way to build community. So if you're interested in that and would like more information, please send me an email with Mentor Program 2025 in the subject line, and I'll send you back some information. It is a small group. It's limited to 20 people, so you really get to know the folks, but it's really a nice, it's fun.
Let's get back to the show.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, I'm going to share our next one. And this listener has a really interesting story. She says, I was feeling a bit under the weather and craving some time in nature. At that moment, a voice in my head clearly said Salem's Stonehenge. It came out of nowhere, as I had not thought of it in a long time, but I've always wanted to go. So I hopped in the car and headed to America's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire. As I walked along the wooded trail, the ruins came into view. They exuded such an intense energy. It felt as though the air was vibrating and the ground itself was charged. It was magical. It was very windy, so the leaves were dancing in the breeze with a cloudless bright blue sky behind them. The first structure you come to has a huge quartzite crystal built into the wall. They also found numerous quartz stones in the well, as if they were drinking the water that had soaked in the quartz. The modern-day owners of this site used Google Maps to trace the alignment of one of the solstice stones, and it goes in a perfect straight line across the Atlantic Ocean, right through the center of Stonehenge in England. Have you heard of this place, Denise?
I haven't, but I'm going.
We covered it on an episode of Psychic Teachers years ago, so I'm not, all the information isn't like at the forefront of my mind, but it is America's Stonehenge, and I don't believe we know to this day exactly how it was built and why it was structured, but it's really, really cool to Google. Anyway, she continues, I got to the giant grooved stone and did a meditation to ground and raise my vibration. Then I extended my aura out to encompass the stone. In my mind's eye, I saw a male First Nations person standing in front of the groove stone with others around him. His arms were stretched up towards the sky, and he was holding something like a cup raised above his head. I got the feeling he was doing some kind of healing ceremony, as if he was the elder or the wise one, the spiritual leader that others went to for guidance and wisdom. Other tourists came along at that point, and I lost my connection. I continued down the trail and came to the summer solstice sunrise stone. I put both my hands on it and asked if it had a message for me. I felt a surge of energy flow into me through my hands and down my body, out my feet. It felt like a healing, warm and tingly. I could sense something to my right. When I opened my eyes and turned my head, the field was full of First Nations people. Some were close to me, others further away, all of them standing amongst the rocks, trees, and grass, looking towards me in the stone. The same elder from earlier stepped up to me and took my right hand. He directed me to the north-facing stone and then to the Samhain stone, where I sat in the grass with him at my side. He told me he would teach me the ways. I just knew in that moment that he meant his ancient spiritual ways of working with the energies of the earth and our own minds and bodies. Tears came, and I was overcome with gratitude and love. I would describe him as stoic and serious but gentle, like he was being overly cautious as to not scare me. This would have terrified me a year ago. It was like I made it there at the exact right time, because I would not have been ready before. I have been going through my dark night of the soul period and doing intense inner child work, healing my childhood trauma and overcoming my fears. The more I do that work on myself, the more experiences and connection I feel with my intuition blossoming. It's ironic how the most intense pain I've ever gone through can lead to some of the most beautiful, moving experiences of my life, the yin and the yang, the balance of life. I think that was what connected me to this guide. Even though it's been the hardest time of my life, I am grateful for it, because I'm finally letting myself feel those intense emotions instead of disconnecting and numbing myself. I've been honoring them and releasing them once and for all. This healing has taught me so much and opened me up to this connection with my higher self and guides like this man. I feel like he was saying to me, you are finally ready, as if it's the next grade in school and he's my new teacher for this next chapter. I don't think we ever stop learning or reach graduation day when it comes to spirituality. There's always more to learn and new guides to teach us. Sorry for the length, but I hope this makes you guys smile and maybe helps others who are going through difficult times, as a reminder that it won't last forever and to continue to choose the light always. We are never alone.
It's a
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful letter.
It really is. And what a great example of listening to your intuition, because she was just kind of feeling down and was thinking about having some time in nature and actually heard a voice say Salem Stonehenge, and then she acted on it. And then she sees this man, and it sounds like the second time she saw this man, she saw him with her physical eyes, because she says, she opened her eyes and turned towards him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it when she says I would have been scared, not ready for that a year ago.
Right. Which goes into the subjective and objective clairvoyance, where a lot of times people think clairvoyance is that ability to see with our real eyes, but often it's more in our mind.
Right.
So the fact that she had both is really incredible.
Well, it reminds me of what Rumi says. We have to have a broken heart to have an open heart.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
very
like,
true.
and I feel like she went through this dark night of the soul, but she was able to get through it. And even when she was in it, to see the light of hope and healing and love. And this was not like her reward, but like a confirmation of that.
A huge validation to all the trauma she'd released, all the inner child work, it just feels like they were coming forward to say, as she mentioned, a graduation or a celebration to let her know that she was getting on the other side of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible.
And to have the humility to say, I don't think you'll ever reach graduation day when it comes to spirituality.
No.
As that's true. It's like, when my kids were little, good Lord, did we celebrate them? Preschool graduation, kindergarten graduation, elementary school graduation, middle school it's like the way did you have that when you were a kid?
No.
I think my kids have had 6 graduations in their lifetimes. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
But they keep on going. And I think that's how it is for us too.
Right. And I love that this person ended it with that message of you can always choose light.
Yes.
I think that's really, really important right now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this story with all of us.
Yes. This is from a dear listener, and she says, her question, my husband remembers his vivid dreams. He also has had intuitive hits regarding his dreams, in which I playfully tease him about being psychic. In his most recent dream, he was golfing with someone who he knew as an acquaintance, but that person is deceased. My husband has an incurable condition, and I truly believe that these dreams bother him because he keeps saying maybe he's going to die. I'm not sure what to make of the dream or what to tell him. And I had responded to this woman, and I had told her that my gut feeling about the dream was that it was a visit from a dear friend who was letting him know he needs to relax and take some time doing something that he enjoys, like playing golf. And it didn't feel like it was a warning about passing.
No, I don't think so at all either. Because first of all, I don't know that they ever come to warn us about a passing until we're right there on the threshold. If you read, I would recommend that she read Visions, Trips, and Crowded Rooms. It's
a great book.
Favorite books, I know. And he interviews hospice nurses and doctors and patients who have been at death's door, and how they all say at that moment, a lot of times they'll see loved ones from the other side. When you are dealing with an incurable illness, but you're doing fine and you're getting through each day, I don't believe that they come to warn you or prepare you in a way that would be scary or off-putting. I agree 100% with what you said, Denise, that it's time to get into the swing of life and do stuff you enjoy and play golf. I also think that we all do this every night. I really do. I just don't think we remember it. But I believe that we visit with loved ones and friends and acquaintances who've gone before us very often in our dreams.
I agree entirely. And that it seems lately people are having either really intense dreams or they're taking a complete break from dreaming. I've talked to both sides of the fence on that one. Some people are getting blasted, and other people, it's almost like spirit has thrown it into neutral and said, we're going to give you some time to recuperate here for a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that's really true, and it kind of mirrors the energy that's going on in the world right now, where some are like, oh, we're just gonna get through, and others are a little cortisol stressed about it. Because whenever you are stressed or overwhelmed or tired, you have more cortisol, and that's always going to inhibit your ability to recall and remember dreams. But it doesn't mean we don't dream. We dream every night.
Right.
And I just think a good percentage of those dreams are soul travels to the other side.
Yes.
Okay, our next one says, this is from a listener. She had emailed me and asked about crystal stores she could visit in North and South Carolina. So I gave her a couple of recommendations and she emailed me back and she said, well, I went to Cornerstone Minerals in Greenville, South Carolina. I love Cornerstone Minerals, so I had recommended that to her. They're in North Carolina and South Carolina. It was lovely. But here's a fun story. I was choosing a few stones and trying to decide between two crazy lace agate stones. Do you know what crazy lace agate is? If listeners are like, what is that? So agate has those beautiful, colorful bands that go through the whole stone. And crazy lace agate, it's kind of like this reddish, orange, white, just bands. And they tend to make really cool images. So I think they make wonderful meditation stones because you can kind of let your mind go as you stare into the pictures that the bands are making. Anyway, she says one had a little doorway and one looked like a worm with a cute, smiley face. So I couldn't decide. I took the one with the door, trying to convince myself that someone else might need that little face. But after looking around some more, I decided I had to have that one too. When I went to the checkout, the guy there said he was only going to charge me for one crazy lace agate because I picked the fun one. I asked him if he needed to say goodbye to it, and he said no. He knew it was going to a good home, and that was enough. It seems like crystal folks see faces and images and things like I do. I think I found my people. I love that. I think that is such a great example of how all of us, when you find your tribe, it's just like, oh, you get it, and you can say those things. I remember when years ago I was talking on the podcast about how one of my favorite things to do was when my kids were little, I'd put them to bed and I'd say to their dad, okay, I'm gonna go be by myself for like an hour. And you might think, oh, Samantha, how lovely and spiritual of you. You went to meditate for an hour. No. I would go to TJ Maxx and Home Goods. I'd get my little cup of tea from Starbucks and I'd walk through those aisles and I would search for crystals. And I called them my crystal rescues because I always worried about these beautiful stones that Home Goods and TJ Maxx somehow found. And I thought, who's going to recognize that this is this beautiful piece of kyanite in this white quartz. And so I would have to rescue it and take it home. And I got so many emails from listeners going, oh my gosh, here's my crystal rescue. And I don't know, it made me feel very, very understood.
And that's all that matters. But I do agree with you completely that finding people, when she said she found her people, I love that because that's what we're all trying to do right now.
Yes, we really are. And, you do have a connection with some of these stones. There's a museum in Japan that is simply dedicated to crystals and rocks that have faces on them.
Oh.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
It's
Maybe you should go.
Oh, yeah. Let me hop on a plane now. I like to do that when I'm walking the beach and I find rocks. I like to look for faces in the rocks. Do you do that?
I do. Do you ever see faces in other things, like a pattern in a piece of material or the way
there's actually a really boring reason for that.
Is there?
Yeah, it's a brain thing that we do. I can't remember the name for it, but our brain is constantly looking for familiar patterns. That's why, like, when you're in a strange location, like you're traveling in an airport, you tend to think you see people you know from home.
Oh.
It's because our brain is always trying to look for familiar patterns. I know. I'm such a Debbie Downer with that fact. Yeah, I do that in trees. I'll do that, like in the tree trunks.
Oh, I see that a lot in the knots or in the pictures that are hidden in the patterns of the wood. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in other episodes and there's a word for it.
Pareidolia? No.
Yes, I think that is it. Oh. Yes. I think of course, we'll both do a quick Google on that, but I think that that's exactly what it is. Thank you.
I think it's just a really, really fun thing. And I always wonder, is that my brain or is it something else? I remember when I was studying the runes, I really liked the Gibo rune. I hope I'm saying it right. It's Gebo. I call it the Gibo rune. It's an X and it means gifts and good luck coming to you. And I was like, ooh, I like that. And I started seeing X shapes in the sky from clouds or conrails. Do you ever see that?
Yes.
And I would see that I saw them so much I started taking pictures of them, and sure enough, within a couple of months, I did have a wonderful gift come into my life.
Hmm.
Yeah. So maybe it's not just our brain. Maybe it's just another way that our guides are trying to talk to us. But, a lot of people believe that every crystal has a crystal guide. You know that poem that says every blade of grass has an angel leaning over it whispering grow.
Yes.
Similar to that, there's a lot of people that believe every crystal has a little spirit in it. And I always think about that when I find faces in crystals.
So this is going to be hard to describe because you can't physically see what I'm talking about. But I'm holding a really large crystal in my hand right now. And when I look into it, it almost looks like there is a shape that's similar to a calla lily that's on the inside of it.
Yeah.
Does that have any significance?
Well, I mean, is it from the crystal itself or is it from cracks in the crystal?
No, it's definitely in the crystal. It
Oh.
almost looks like a flower blossoming in there.
Oh, wow. Well, then I would say yes. I would say that is it clear quartz?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would say that quartz is here to help you grow as a lily does. And lilies are often associated with death and rebirth. A lot of times we'll bring lily flowers to funerals, and so they're often a symbol of regrowth and rebirth after a time of trial.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because you've described a while back about a crystal within a crystal.
Oh, that's
And
called a manifestation crystal.
and so of course, after we did that, I started looking at all the clear quartz crystals. I have the little ones, the bigger ones, and I'm thinking, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So I think you're when you're ready and you have a reference book for all of us, we're gonna love it.
Well, I taught my crystal class last night, and one of the students showed us a crystal that had a selenite type look. It looked like a selenite inside the quartz.
Ooh,
And I was like, I got to call Joel because I don't know how that happens. Or I need
yeah.
to call a geologist. I don't know. But it was absolutely beautiful. It's very, very, very rare to find a manifestation quartz. Sometimes they'll be sold as manifestation quartz, but they're actually penetrator quartz. And that's when like a little piece of crystal is inside the crystal, but a little bit of it is poking out. And that's actually a beautiful stone too, because it helps you penetrate through any walls you put up, any blocks you put up in your own life.
But the penetrator would actually have a protrusion out the
Yes.
side of the
Yes.
quartz.
Yeah.
Because I think they can be a little not deceptive, because I know that's almost being blasphemous to your friends, the crystals, but sometimes it'll look like there's somebody in there, so another crystal in there, but then you'll turn it and it doesn't.
Yes, that's the way, the growth pattern. And so that'll be the reflection of light on the growth pattern inside the crystal. And often that is created by the crystal breaking a little bit while it's growing in the earth. And usually that will create that rainbow effect, when the light hits and you'll see the different colors on it. And that's actually another beautiful sign because it reminds us that our inner brokenness can be healed too.
About how many little slight differences there can be in the crystals that can make such a huge impact on what they came to help us with.
Yes, exactly. And I just want to say I really do appreciate, Denise and I really appreciate all of you taking time to email us these stories and questions and everything, because there's something about being on this journey, at least in my world, where I just often feel misunderstood. Like I'll get a new crystal and I'll tell some of my friends and they're like, "Yeah, that's beautiful. I just got this new purse," and I'm like, "Not the same thing." Or I'll ask to see a hawk and I'll see 3 hawks and I take a picture and I want to tell everyone and they're like, "Yeah, that's great." It's just so nice to have a community where people get it, where people understand how exciting it is to meet your guide at America's Stonehenge and how you just have to share that with someone who understands the hard work and the patience and the inner healing you had to do to get to that point, or to be with people who understand the thrill and joy of meeting a fellow crystal lover. All of that is just, it's just really, really important. And it's why we do the show.
100%. And I have lived in New England, born and bred. I had never heard of that before. I'd never heard of the Stonehenge in American Stonehenge. So I'm really excited to go check it out.
Yeah, go check it out. Deb and I did a show on, I think we called it like America's, oh gosh, I can't remember. That's terrible. But we did a show on like unusual places to visit in America. Like we focused on Coral Gables in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That guy who built that amazing structure. And we covered that place in New Hampshire as well. And there were several others. And I remember doing the research and going, yeah, I never heard of half these places either.
Right.
So much to explore right here in America.
That's right.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening and sharing. Remember, you can always email us, enlightenedempaths@gmail.com, and do join us on our Facebook page, Enlightened Empaths. If you like the show, we would so appreciate it if you would tell a friend or leave us a review so that more people can join our community. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and remember to show up, do great work, and share your light.
Take care.